Stephanie White is having a lot of problems. Caitlin Clark is the one you came here to slow down. He is unaware of Caitlin Clark's current situation. It's completely opposed to Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Mitchell has been selected over Why don't you want Caitlin Clark to make the shot, Stephanie? With this head coach, Caitlin Clark is in a position to thrive. Let it go. It will disappear. However, because of Stephanie White, we are expected to sit here and not watch a logo 3. Your star is this. This is the public face of your club and franchise. In the absence of Caitlin Clark, the league is nothing. Stephanie White just committed her season's greatest error. She gave Kelsey Mitchell the keys and benched Caitlin Clark. This formerly fantastic, thrilling must-watch Indiana Fever offense on TV has been spoiled by Stephanie White. Mitchell is commended for letting her emotions run wild, even when she's freezing, but Clark was advised to stop shooting. Favoritism is more than just apparent. The team is being undermined by it. The WNBA as a whole is so afraid to speak the truth. Fans are now incensed. If you firmly support Caitlin Clark, let's make it known by leaving a remark below. Caitlin must either leave Indy immediately. Stephanie White made it apparent early on that Caitlin Clark was not her top focus. Kelsey Mitchell has been selected by Stephanie White over Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is the target of Stephanie White's ire. Her words and deeds conveyed a single, loud message in each game. This is the team of Kelsey Mitchell. This is Kelsey Mitchell's team, according to Stephanie White. White's answer is full of steadfast support even when Mitchell is having a bad game, such as when he is 2 for 14. Encouragement. Her desire is for Kelsey Mitchell to continue firing. During the game, Kelsey Mitchell was 2 for 14 at one point. Although it wasn't the most productive night, Kelsey, it was nonetheless a significant one. Evening. And is there anything you need to tell her, particularly during the fourth quarter? Is there anything we need you to do to continue shooting and moving forward or something similar? That yes, the most important thing, in my opinion, is simply telling her, let it fly. It's going to go. Let it go, she assured Mitchell. It's going to go. Bark was letting it fly while she made the shots. You made a call, hero ball. Yesterday, Kelsey Mitchell had 24 shots. She only made 8. And that was only until she began to make them in the second half. The first half was about 2 for 10. I wonder why you didn't name that a hero ball. How come you didn't tell her to pass the ball? You should have had her stand in the corner, but you didn't. Such a green light is uncommon, particularly for a player whose efficiency is so erratic. The fact that we're sitting here approving her to stop Clark is stupid. However, Clark has already broke records and established herself as the WNBA's most influential rookie in recent memory. In addition to the more than 60 other records she set last season, Clark holds the record for the most assists in WNBA history. The approach has been very different. According to Clark's own admission on the Suburb podcast, Stephanie White dissuaded her against shooting. Kayla Clark made an appearance on the Suburb show and said big gems. Dude. She made it clear that shooting threes is not something Stephanie White wants her to do. Caitlin Clark revealed on the Suburb podcast that Stephanie White doesn't want her if she wasn't hitting early. Shooting. Oh, Caitlin, if you're missing, just drive. Consider that, Stephanie White said. The largest player in your franchise Esther in women's basketball is being advised to restrain her skills and quit doing what made her the most explosive scorer in college basketball history. When you see 2 or 3 people enter, it makes me feel as though I have to back 2 back in a row, as if I need to get it up, even if I might not be advised to launch a third. If the third one enters, it's as if you're simply attractive. As a shooter, I believe your confidence simply grows and builds and builds. We know that you have the best player in NCAA history who can give you 40 to 30 each game because we've watched her play in college, and you want her to simply pass the ball to all of you. And this isn't only casual guidance, there is a pattern. Caitlin's hot moments, such as when she lit it up during that Liberty game. Stephanie White did not celebrate the Liberty game despite scoring 9 points in just over 30 seconds. In what game did we observe Clark score 9 points? 39 seconds. 3-8 I believe it was seconds. She was furious. Stephanie White folded one arm, appeared repulsed, angry with her arms crossed and a stony expression. She looked. When Caitlin shot, she appeared irate from the sidelines. There was no pride in the energy. It was annoyance. Mitchell can, however, miss 10 shots in a row and still receive instructions to continue shooting. White commends her for it. When Kelsey does the same behavior that leads Clark to be accused of playing hero ball, it is praised. It will go if you let it fly. Well, let it go. It will go. That's something you've never heard her say about Caitlyn. With Caitlyn, you've never heard her say that. There is no distinction in philosophy of coaching. There is a distinction in whom White decides to empower. It's also tough to overlook. Favoritism like this affects more than only Clark. It ruins the team's chemistry as a whole. It sends the wrong impression when the person in charge of fan connection is strategically and emotionally sidelined. That merit is irrelevant. That playing favorites is more important than playing to win. In order to lift this team and eventually save Indiana from years of mediocrity, Clark was called in. However, at the moment, she is being viewed as a supporting dancer while someone else takes center stage. Stephanie White appears to be entirely at ease with that. Who are you to advise her against making three-point logo shots? Who are you to tell her to do nothing except stand in the corner? Who are you to advise her against taking so many shots? Prior to Stephanie White's appointment, there was an Indiana glimmer of hope. It was far from ideal under Christie sides. However, one thing was evident. When Caitlin Clark was allowed to play freely, the temperature spiked during her game. Things were going well after Christie sides realized she needed to play Caitlin's style and let Caitlin be Caitlin. I must tell you the truth, it was also a must-watch TV show. They led the charge with their generational talent, moved quickly, and ran the floor. She appeared angry even when Caitlin was burning and destroying the New York Liberty away. The squad discovered its identify at that point. They began to garner victories, sell out arenas, and garner national attention. Clark's idea, her pace, her ability to make precise passes in transition or hit logo threes. Where was the driving force behind Indiana's thrilling journey? Allowing Clark to be Clark as we began to take off to the extent where everyone wanted to discuss the Indiana Fever. They were known as the American team. They became America's team at that point. Then the shift arrived. Stephanie White was hired on the basis of her development, speed, and transition offense. Rather, she gave the complete opposite. A half-court motion offense that is slow. Why don't you want Kayla Clark to make a shot that totally negates Clark's advantages? Stephanie. We will listen to a portion of this audio and observe how she committed this offense on her own despite being expected to be a defensive genius. Stephanie White brings her sluggish-ass offense with her. She did it even though no one asked her to. She brings the motion offensive in which all players are able to pass. Even worse, she recruited slower older players who couldn't run the floor with Caitlin even if they wanted to, building her roster around that style. The simple buckets in transition were no more. The rapid breaks and backdoor cuts where Clark flourished were no more. It was replaced by a strict, dependable system that was intended for control rather than victory. Stephanie White altered the priority in addition to the tempo. This previously fantastic, thrilling, must-watch Indiana Fever offense has been spoiled by Stephanie White. Instead of White forced Clark to defer by handing the ball to her and allowing her to plan the attack like a great point guard. A volume shooter is Kelsey Mitchell. She had an 8 for 24 record and a 2 for 14 record on the game. Her game appeals to me. Let's not mince words. She is a bucket getter. Putting Kelsey Mitchell at the center of your offense in every game, we find out where that takes you. We've seen how that leads teams to Brianna Turner, Natasha Howard, and Mitchell. All of a sudden, the league's top choice was reduced to a position in the corner, waiting for the ball to get to know Stephanie White, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell. Clark ought to have had to put these things on hold, observing the development of plays without her. It was an insult to her game in addition to being a poor fit. The ability to scan the floor, read the defense, improvise, and create momentum are all part of Clark's skill set. White, though, seemed intent on stifling that. Rather than bending over, she's putting her in a box, which is what makes Clark so awesome with this head coach. Caitlin Clark is in a position to thrive. Kelsey Mitchell shooting 24 times in a game obviously doesn't bother her. However, she has no desire for Caitlin to shoot. It's also not conjecture. It is directly from Caitlin's own words. She hesitates. She is unsure if she should perform in her natural way. Additionally, Caitlin Clark admits that she isn't used to feeling this way since she fears her coach except that isn't progress. Deprogramming is what that is. The players White has emphasized, such as Kelsey Mitchell, have been allowed to do as they please. In the meantime, there is only unending support, no criticism, and no leash. Rather than adapting to the apparent, White continues to rely heavily on her method even when the squad is struggling. This group ought to be established. Caitlin Clark's vicinity She improves everyone around her, not simply because she's talented. She spreads the floor. Gravity is something she makes. Clark makes teammates' jobs easier when he starts the attack. It's not necessary for Kelsey to make 24 shots. Boston's Olia receives improved spacing. Cleaner opportunities are even given to the role players. Stephanie White is not as important to the WNBA as she is. In fact, she is more important to the WNBA than all of Indiana fans combined. Stephanie White has chosen to ignore that whole scenario instead. She changed the script from what was obviously working to what isn't. As you will see, it was how we were playing fails in comparison to our current actions. The figures also don't lie. When Clark was released, the squad performed better. The fans were more involved. The players appeared more motivated. We are currently witnessing bewilderment, slow offensive progress, and a disgruntled star who is doubting her position inside the system. This isn't simply awful coaching, it is the willful destruction of a successful recipe. Caitlin Clark is the main character, which Stephanie White does not want. She is not interested in one of this team's best players, is Caitlin Clark. Additionally, she has decided that this is Kelsey Mitchell's squad. Clark tried to take advantage of the fact that everyone was looking at Indiana. I'm not sure if this is a job of sabotage. I have no idea what's happening. Stephanie White was presented with a blueprint for success, but she rejected it in favor of an antiquated, rigid, and most crucially, it wasn't made for Caitlin Clark. It seems as though she entered the room and ruined the nice thing we were doing. Consequently, the team is suffering not only from losses, but also from potential for loss. She's hurt for you guys right now, which is convenient because you guys will still shine. Stephanie White may not be aware of this, or worse, she is choosing to overlook it, but her choice not only is it alienating fans to remove Caitlin Clark as the focal point of the franchise, it is causing a full-scale uprising. Anger is no longer limited to post-game comments or angry tweets. Complaining. Now, it's a movement, and its voice is becoming louder every day, because play calls and rotations are no longer the only factors involved. It's about the intentional people are taking notice after the most influential rookie in league history was mishandled. We heard Caitlin Clark publicly state that Stephanie White does not want her to be shot. Yes, even though Stephanie would really prefer that I not take the shot, I'm probably going to do it. So, you want Kelsey to take it instead of her. Alright, this Kelsey team, so let's start by discussing the fans. It wasn't only hype that Caitlin Clark brought, she brought about change. By herself, she increased the WNBA's prominence and sold out arenas that had been half empty for years. Children are wearing Clark jerseys because of it. She is the reason why women's basketball is receiving greater coverage from broadcasters, and it is because of her that Fever games have suddenly gained national attention. Say it's enormous, the chance to interact and, in a sense, serve as an inspiration and role model for a large number of young children who are traveling through that entire world. I've heard a lot of youngsters tell about how they traveled from Australia, New Zealand, or somewhere else to attend All-Star Weekend and meet their favorite players. This is a fact, not an opinion. As soon as Clark joined the league, its ratings, ticket sales, and merchandising sales all skyrocketed. When admirers witness her being undervalued, they are compelled to corner, benched during critical moments, chastised for playing hero, ball, or worse, treated like a bother. They take it personally because they didn't come to watch ineffective veterans engage in volume, shooting, or motion offensive. Stephanie White is having a lot of problems. He is unaware of Caitlin Clark's current situation. It's completely opposed to Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Mitchell has been selected instead of Caitlin Clark. Why don't you want to? Stephanie, will Kayla Clark make the shot? With this head coach, Caitlin Clark is in a position to thrive. Let it go. It will go, however, do of Stephanie. We were meant to sit here and avoid watching a logo 3. White. They came to see Clark take the lead. Additionally, it seems like betrayal when she is strategically and emotionally marginalized in addition to being physically neglected. However, it's not only the admirers who are taking notice. The media is also beginning to make the connections. Curiosity has given way to mistrust regarding Clark's injury status. Why is Stephanie White never able to provide an explanation? Why does she keep saying that she hasn't had a conversation with the trainers? Is Stephanie White unaware of Caitlin Clark's current situation? Why does it seem like the professional sports organization is concealing something? Uncertain injury updates cause concerns, particularly when it comes to your best player. Your star is this. This is the public face of your club and franchise. Furthermore, this is not a one-time event, it has been going on. It's become harder to ignore. whether it's deliberate deception or an indication of interior disorder. Stephanie White, you are a liar, reappear to bite her. The quiet that pervades the locker room is even more concerning. Where are the teammates' support systems? Where is the DOU? Think a team supporting its injured star will present a united front. Reports indicate otherwise. Fragmented meetings, interviews, subtle jabs, and team gatherings without even Clark in attendance. It depicts an environment that is fractured, one in which, instead of being embraced, Clark is being held at arm's length. One in which she is portrayed as the outsider rather than the head. The front office comes next. What are they doing? They see Clark bring this franchise to the present day, however. They gave the coaching job to someone who seems more concerned with making a point than making the most of talent. The front desk needs to hire a new employee, or Caitlin needs to get the heck out of Indy. Coach. This team needs a floor general, and Stephanie White has had every chance to change course, pivot, and return the ball to Clark. She hasn't, either. Outcome is the same whether she is being stubborn, envious, or just out of her depth. A system that doesn't change to accommodate the one player it ought to. The repercussions are getting worse. There is a decline in team chemistry. The fate of this Indiana Fever team is tragic. Fans are checking out, and losses are piling up. They've changed from excitement, perplexity, and indignation. It's all around you. Social media, call-ins after games, and even national analysts who doubt White's choices. The most marketable player in the WNBA is being squandered in the moment. And if this keeps up, the league could lose a generational opportunity. With shooters who can shoot from almost anywhere, how would you want to be on a paint-type team? To make matters worse, there is a growing feeling that this is all deliberate, that Stephanie White was brought in to restrain Clark, to humble her, to slow her ascent, rather than to build around her. Fans who are angry at Clark's fame, swagger, and the change in power she represents have even gone so far as to label her an agent of the old guard. Additionally, when you observe the disparities, the nonverbal cues, the public remarks, it's difficult to completely reject the hypothesis. To be honest, this wouldn't be taking place if this were any other league or star. If an inexperienced quarterback broke breaking records, bringing his team to prominence, and selling out every stadium where he performed, Clark is helping the WNBA to its best average attendance ever. Would the coach bench him in a hurry, in support of a mediocre veteran, before the next practice? That coach would be sacked. However, we are witnessing Caitlin Clark's marginalization, not due to her performance, but rather because and whether she realizes it or not, Stephanie White is at the core of it. There are more than one team involved. It concerns how the WNBA manages its position in the spotlight, and the Indiana Fever are killing it at the moment. Your star is this. This is the public face of your club and franchise. In the absence of Caitlin, the league is nothing. Caitlin must either leave Indy immediately. They tried to contain it rather than build around it because they had lightning in a bottle. You're not a bottle. You're not a